Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I have the pleasure and the honor of sitting down with Retri, main voice of Xbox Game Pass underscore daily, or it's actually Game Pass underscore daily.
That's right.
Folks, we have, wow, I mean, shout out to JMO Money on Twitter who had me laughing out loud when he sent a gif of someone crumpling up paper and throwing it over, because that is what the last 48 hours has been for me. I am currently in the midst of writing 4 shows. The news gods have been nothing short of generous beyond generosity. Um, Last night, and I want to talk about it because I want people to head over there and check it out, was one of the biggest shows I think I've ever done in my YouTube career. We missed 900 people live in the chat by 14.
So close.
886 is where we topped off for primetime gaming. Obviously, there is breaking news left, right, and center. We have it on good authority from Bloomberg. We have it on good authority from Tom Warren of The Verge that the EU antitrust regulators are not expected to demand Microsoft to sell off assets of Activision Blizzard King. This is a big deal. What's an even bigger deal that happened yesterday as we were getting ready to go live is Sony has been ordered by the courts here in the Americas to produce third-party contract documentation, and not just some of it, all of it dating back from 2019 to present. We're going to get into that. And oh, by the way, there was a Phil Spencer interview that was done by Charlie Hodson of Xbox On that was just an absolute phenomenal 22 minutes. Phil being as cool as the other side of the pillow as he's known. And he said some pretty interesting things. We're going to open up with that. But first of all, Retri, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. For the next, 70, 80, maybe even 90 minutes, we're really going to get into some of the most incredible breaking news. And a lot of it to me seems, like, oh, well, we kind of knew this was coming. And sometimes, I mean, a lot of us have been on the fence of this deal. One day it was regulators hate Microsoft and they hate big tech
Right.
and they're not putting it through. And I think after it was all said and done, cooler heads have prevailed. Microsoft has offered up concessions that are going to quell any concerns for competition. And one of the things that I think no one is going to talk about except us starting today is how Sony might just be in a bit of trouble. And what do I mean by that, Retri? Well, if the regulators get a hold of these documents, and not some of them again, all of their third party dealings from 2019 to present, it is going to paint a picture that is anti consumer. And the FTC has been known in the past to open up a lawsuit or an investigation against a company once new information has been brought to their
Right.
attention. I feel that Sony might have an some sort of an
Like
anti-consumer
anti-competitive lawsuit.
lawsuit. Yeah, an
Yeah.
anti-competitive lawsuit sent their way. And you know what I'll say to that? Good for you. I'm sorry. Like I don't mean to be catty. I don't mean to be that guy, but come on, man. I mean, Sony has been, listen, I take nothing away, Retri, from what Sony does. They have
Right.
incredible first party games. Their consoles, they're great, great console makers. But you know what? They're also a bunch of D bags. And they
Mm-hmm.
do things to shrink the industry. And I've said this before, and I will continue to say it until it changes. They move the head of the industry the way they want. And that's why they're able to get away with the murder that they're able to get away with. But listen, I'm going too far into this. Retri, how the heck are you, and how have you been taking in all of this news?
I'm doing great, Boom. Thanks for inviting me on the show today. There's just an astronomical amount of news coming from so many different directions. It's kind of hard to keep up with. I'm sure there's going to be some more stuff dropping while we're talking here today, as it normally does. Uh, so I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about like the Phil interview. I thought there was some good information in that. Phil is the man. And what's
Indeed.
going on with Sony? Like we said, we've been saying for months. I've been saying for months, like you poked the bear. Sony made some huge mistakes. Like I think they thought they were going to win this, maybe no problem, and they weren't going to have to open up their books and shove out all their information and their secrets were going to stay hidden. And that's just not the case, right? So with these subpoenas and everything that's coming out for Sony, it's a mistake. It's a huge mistake. Never mind just Activision themselves and just burning the bridge, right? Like
Yeah.
throwing the gasoline and lighting the match behind you for a company you've worked with forever. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I understand what Sony was doing. I understand why. I think maybe they went about it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Um, and now they're gonna pay the piper. I think like you were saying earlier. I think this could get them long term repercussions.
Yeah.
Not even for Sony specifically, they're going to probably get hurt the most if regulators decide to go after them retroactively, which they 100% can do, a la
Yep.
Facebook, right?
Yes.
So you got a situation like this where everybody's probably pissed off at Sony right now because now everything's going to be under a microscope from now probably to the end of time, right? This has set everyone on fire, unfortunately, and Sony kind of paved the way for regulators to look into this industry with magnifying glasses, and it's the next acquisition and everything that happens hereafter is going to be that much harder now because of Sony.
Indeed. Yeah, I
You know,
agree. Well, I'll say this in regards to what's next for Microsoft. I don't think it's a publisher. I can tell you that right
I don't
now.
either. I don't
I
either.
think what you're going to start to see them do is kind of close the gates a little bit. I think you're going to start to see smaller studios that are
Yeah.
currently working with them on projects. There is. I mean, again, this is my wish. This is my hope. Maybe I'm gonna try and wish to the gaming gods and get this to come to fruition. Um, but the same way that we saw the Tomb Raider IP go to Amazon, get licensed out to Amazon, I would love to see Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal as studios that are currently working on both Perfect Dark and Fable respectively, join Xbox Game Studios as full time employees. I
Yeah.
think that when you look at the way the deal was done and the money that was spent, I'm sure Microsoft would easily spend 300 million on the pair of studios,
Oh yeah.
or maybe even each, because obviously they have vested interest of keeping these studios working with them. But look, let's get into the Phil Spencer interview.
Okay.
Again, this was phenomenal. This was timely. Obviously, Phil Spencer, when he's out there doing his thing, he gets he does these interviews. And again, folks, if you missed it, I will add it. The interview was done by Charlie Hodson. She's amazing. She is a
Yeah,
big
she's really
figure.
good. I like
Yeah,
her.
she
She seems
yeah
very
she
comfortable when she's
she's
doing the interviews.
when you watch her work, it's like she's hanging out. That's how you know
Yes.
it's real. It is not that, and again, I hope that's what you get with me when I'm talking to you about video games. I mean, I write what I'm going to talk about. I write specifically dates and first and last names and certain information that you need. You can't just shoot from the hip. So I have
Hmm.
that, but for the most part, this is just me talking to you folks. Um, and Charlie does it great. I really think that the interview that she did just the other day was fantastic. Again, I will add it to the show notes. So if you missed it, it's 22 minutes. Um, but there are two things, Retri, that I mean, listen, first of all, Phil Spencer, like I said, this, what you see in an interview is really who he is. Like this
Yeah.
isn't a persona. This isn't a front.
Nope.
He's not trying to sell you a bag of goods and then he's a D bag behind this. What you see is what you get. I know,
Yeah.
folks, firsthand. I had a chance to talk with Phil last year. Highlight of my career, honestly, the highlight of my career. I even got a chance to tell him how much I loved Banjo Kazooie and my idea of how to bring it back.
Right.
This is the head dude of Microsoft Gaming, and he took the time to talk with me. It's
Yeah.
again the highlight of
Phil's a good, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no,
Phil's
talk about
he's
it.
a good guy because you can't fake it that
No,
long. You cannot do that many appearances on
yes,
television. You cannot fake it that long. I worked in television for 19 years. When you keep putting the same guy on there time and time again, and he can only fake being, you're not being himself for so long. That is Phil. What you see is what you get, right? And that's why we love Phil. And he's a gamer. And you can look him up. I'm friends with him. You can see if he's full of BS or not. He's
yeah.
playing the games that he's saying. So he's extremely likable. I've always said Phil is the king of PR. He knows what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. Like he's an absolute pro at this. I don't know if he got formal training in this, but man, he runs for politics. Watch out. He'll sweep.
I'll say this. As everyone may or may not know, I'm a retired New York City police officer. I worked the streets of the Bronx for 21 years. For me, it was a dream come true because I wanted to be a police officer since I was playing with my GI Joes. That's an actual fact, folks. That's why I became a cop, is because GI Joe. I know it sounds silly, but I'm transparent, so that's what it is. Um, and every time I was in front of the public, it really was like second nature. That's why I worked in community affairs, because I was known as officer friendly. It was incredibly important to me to be that guy you can come up to with any problem, big or small, and I would do everything in my power to help you. When you see Phil out there talking, I don't think that he has training, to be honest with you. I don't think he
I think it's just
needs it.
natural.
I just think
He's
that
just natural.
this is who he is.
Yeah.
So getting back to the interview, Retri,
Yeah.
what I loved about it are two specific points of contention. The first one was he wholeheartedly mentioned, not being in a position where they're going to keep content for other, and he made mention of the Hogwarts mission that is
I love
held off of
that. I love
Xbox and
that,
everyone.
dude.
Yeah, and he did it in a way that was paraprofessional,
Classy. Yeah.
classy as all hell.
It's like a dig without being a dig. Like it was like
He
a
said
dig,
it
but
for a point, and as small as it was, it had a significant amount of weight because, again, folks, I don't care about the one mission. I don't care.
I
It's
don't either.
one mission. Who
Yeah.
cares? But the fact of the matter is that kind of behavior is exactly what defines Sony. They
Right.
keep content away from everyone else and drive you to their console, to their platform. Now, understand, they're not doing anything illegal. It's
Nope.
business. I
Yeah.
absolutely get it. The problem here, and why this becomes so compounded, is they are attempting to block a deal because they are going to lose marketing rights. They're going to lose the discount that they're currently getting. Oh, I bet you didn't know that. They get a discount from Activision Blizzard for Call of Duty. They're going to lose that as well. If this does go into PlayStation Plus, and it could possibly be one of the remedies, it's going to cost them anywhere between 600 and 900 million dollars to get that in there. And I'm not talking about an extended contract. Remember, last year, PlayStation was the number one place. They made bank off of Call of Duty. So if Microsoft owns it and you want to put it into your service, well, you're going to have to pay the piper. And the other thing that he said, specifically talking about Call of Duty, is that, and again, I know there's going to be some console warriors out there that are going to say, Boom, you're an idiot for saying this. Look, I don't care where Activision Blizzard content goes as long as it's in Game Pass, and you shouldn't either.
Amen. Yep.
Okay. This isn't 1990. This isn't 2005. This isn't 2010. Exclusives, they matter. Starfield, yes, exclusive. Redfall, exclusive. Fable and whatever, Hellblade 2, all great exclusives. And they deserve to be exclusive because Microsoft owns those studios. But for Activision Blizzard King to get the deal done, if you have to have games that are on multiple platforms, you know who wins? Microsoft wins because they take that money and they invest it into other studios and other
Right.
games. If you are an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, well, you win because for your $15, you're getting all this extra content. Who cares where it goes?
Mm-hmm.
He said specifically, and we've seen this with PlayStation over the last, I don't know, well, it's 9 years as of this year, because in 2014 Microsoft kind of just went like this with the Call of Duty marketing, and Sony stepped in, and Sony did what Sony did, and look what has happened all these years later. They're the home of Call of Duty. Phil said specifically that they are not going to have exclusive content on Xbox for specifically for Call of Duty. I have zero problems with that because who gives an F about a map? A skin. Now maps, maybe that'd be an issue. Like if I can't play a
Yeah,
map, and
maps
we
would be
see
an issue.
maps would be
Definitely.
an issue. Modes would be an issue.
Modes is an issue as well.
And
I think,
we talked about that last night, and it was broken down perfectly by Everborn Saga. Many people on the panel talked about it. And actually, this came the way of Hargeet Chani. Yeah, he says that what Sony would do is they would keep a mode exclusive for a year to the day, and by the time that mode became available for Xbox, it was Mr. Irrelevant because the next Call of Duty was coming out. That's how they kept you on their platform. That's again, it's business, but see, it's anti-consumer business. And
see, I'm not even. I just want to push back a little bit on that. Boom. I'm not even completely against all that sort of stuff. I actually want Microsoft to do the same damn thing, but I don't think they ever will. Right? So because they want to be the good guys. So if that's the case, then yeah, then we have to stop Sony from doing these things because Microsoft isn't willing to take out the hammer and do the same things that Sony is doing. But I would love to see the Xbox from back in the day. You know what I mean?
You're talking about like the Xbox 360 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
The 360 days.
There are a lot of people that would like to see that. Look, I'm in two minds of this. From a caddy point of view, sure, you want Microsoft to do what Sony does, and the other half of my brain, I actually don't. I want them to be better. I understand, and I've said this before, folks. I mean, if you're following me, you understand that you've heard this 1,000 times. The true exclusive is Xbox Game Pass, and that's because the value proposition is unmatched. Like I woke up this morning, and Wo Long, a $70 game, is just waiting there.
Yep.
It's just waiting there for me to play. I played the demo. It's phenomenal. The problem with Wo Long, I don't have enough time in my life to add something else. I'm at the last.
It's like adding another Hogwarts, right? That's exactly what it feels like. It's like adding another huge game.
I'm a few hours away from 4 days in Hogwarts. 4 days worth to play, and I'm only like 70% done because I'm going and checking everything. I haven't beaten Dead Space. I'm literally at the last boss in Hi-Fi Rush. Wo Long is out. Last night, my wife and I stayed up to 2:30 in the morning beating Baldur's Gate 2 Dark Alliance, and we're starting another run with different characters because that's our thing. There's just not enough time in a day, so I'll probably play Wo Long, but I'm afraid to play it because if I really enjoy it,
I know
Hogwarts falls off, Dead Space falls even further, Hi-Fi Rush, one of the best games of the year. I just want to beat it. I invested so much time into it. I haven't beaten it yet. Let's get to your take before I get to some of the super chats about the film. What jumps off the page for you with the interview that Phil did this week?
A lot of things. I mean, they talked about a lot of different things. Of course, he reiterated they never had it in their model to take COD away from PlayStation from from the beginning, and which is kind of obvious to most of us who've been following this because they were ready to give him a contract like right away, right? So he says we're not going to be pulling games onto from other platforms, and we continue to support games with content drops on PlayStation, which they've been doing.
Yeah.
Like I said on your podcast multiple times, Microsoft isn't just doing BS PR speak. They're actually doing what they say they're going to do. And they get proof. I mean, what did they say? They had 50-something games on PlayStation?
I think they said, Phil said because 56, of Doom and, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was something crazy. I mean, they're trying to handle Call of Duty like Minecraft, where they increase the monthly active users, which is fine. I mean, that's great. It benefits Microsoft. It doesn't benefit Xbox gamers necessarily, but it also doesn't hinder Xbox gamers either, right? We don't lose anything. We just gain stuff from this acquisition because of Game Pass, which I'm super excited about, going back into all the older Call of Duties and playing them all through, which I won't have time for, but the thought is there. It's the thought that counts. Because I'm having the same issue as you. I'm trying to get through Hogwarts so I can play Wolong and all the other games that are coming onto Game Pass, because this year is going to be the best year ever in Game Pass and possibly Xbox's history, in my personal opinion. But I mean, he talked about, unfortunately, Mikami-san is leaving Tango Gameworks, so that
hurts.
That hurts. That does hurt. I think more than maybe some people can realize. Because I was hoping, and I know other people were hoping this too, that he was going to lead the initiative for Japanese games for Xbox in Japan, and they were going to expand out the studio, which I still think they have been doing and they're going to do. I think Tango Gameworks is going to be very pivotal. It's going to be very important for
100%.
Xbox as a whole in the future.
A beacon, if you will.
A beacon, absolutely. The light that that we are in Japan. See, we're here. And after playing Hi-Fi Rush, holy moly, like they're here. Like Tango can make a game that I really enjoyed. And he's definitely been talking to Mikami-san and getting his input. What can Xbox do better in Japan? And I love that. That's what I love about Phil. He listens. He doesn't think he knows everything. He's listening to the experts. And Mikami-san, Resident Evil, I mean, his resume is ridiculous.
I was hoping that he would be dropping one of his new IP, because the guy's mind has got to be brilliant, right? Like, he's a horror guy. Level. He is a horror guy. For Microsoft to have their own horror IP, especially if it was something new from him. Man,
I know. I was kind of hoping that as well. But it is what it is. He's been in the industry forever, and he probably, just wants to retire and move on. And that's okay. Tango Gameworks is obviously in good hands. Like, a lot of people think Hi-Fi Rush was a game that only took 2 or 3 years. There's a reason that's so polished. That game is literally almost perfection.
I agree.
Because it was 5 years. That's how long it took, guys. It was 5 years in development. So that's why it doesn't feel like an indie, because it kind of isn't. It's damn near perfect. I can't find anything
you
wrong
keep
with
saying that, and I don't think people give you enough credit for being one of the first people to actually say that, Retri. Like, literally, there were threads, there were articles, there were podcasts of people playing the game, not to play the game, Retri, not to say, holy shit, this is incredible. They were trying to find something wrong with it, which is a sickness. You shouldn't play games to find what's wrong with it. You should play games why you enjoy gaming. And I have yet to find one single thing wrong with that game. Yeah.
Same here, Boom. I was actually actively looking. Maybe I'm sick in the mind, but I was doing it for the purpose of, because I knew other.
Oh, you're doing it for conversational.
I'm doing it for conversation because I knew it was coming up. Sorry, I'm just trying to get these super chats in here because they are coming in. But
I
yeah,
appreciate that, brother. I'm trying
yeah,
to say hello to everyone at the same time. If you look, I'm
I
looking
know.
at this.
It's not easy doing three things at once, and I have a million tabs open chat, so we have so much to talk about. But yeah, so I love that game. I hope it at least gets put into Game of the Year conversation. But Phil also mentioned like the guy's going everywhere. He's dealing with ABK. This guy is going, looking at Fable, and according to what he said, the Playground Games team and how they're evolving Fable, he said was great. He's going to check out Hellblade 2, so he's going to check out the studio in Cambridge for Ninja Theory.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's the game I believe is going to be our God of War.
I heard some things behind the scenes about Hellblade, and I'm not going to compare it to one to the other. I'm not going to do that because that's going to bring console war shenanigans. I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What I will tell you what I have heard. It is such a step up from the original game in scope and scale and combat. Yeah. It is truly an evolution of the original. And listen, you can say what you want about some of Sony's incredible studios. One of my favorite studios for Sony is Sony Santa Monica, the makers of God of War, one original, of course, and Ragnarok. Their mocap there is like next level bananas good. But I would dare say that if there is another studio that is a 1-to-1, it's Ninja Theory.
I agree. Especially if you see all the stuff that they've been doing. From Hellblade 1 to Hellblade 2, we were talking about a studio that is now 6 times the size that it was before.
Yep.
20 people made Hellblade 1, which just...
It started out with 14.
It's crazy.
14 people.
Right? So they got a new studio, they got a new mocap studio, they got a new voiceover studio. Everything, like, if you've seen the behind the scenes of their studio, it's beautiful. The studio in Cambridge, it seems like a very nice place to work. And their behind the scenes stuff is great. The girl playing the main character too, I didn't realize. I just found out the other day. She was never even she was just a stand-in. I didn't even know that. Yeah, she was a stand-in who became the main character. How cool is that? What an awesome story.
It's awesome. It's a great story. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm super excited about what's going on with Ninja Theory. I'm sure Phil's just there just to be like, hey, I'm here. Looks great. I'm here. Looks great, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm gonna, go see the guys over at Fable and see what the heck they're doing. But he also talked about, he obviously mentioned mobile, and that it was more about King, the merger, than Call of Duty. Hence why they're perfectly fine with giving Call of Duty to everyone. Call of Duty is gonna be everywhere, and why would they care? They're just gonna make more money. And I know a lot of Xbox people will say, well, how does that benefit me? And just immediately write that off. And like you said earlier, Boom, you mentioned money. Well, that brings money into the Xbox ecosystem. And then they can take chances. They can do crazy stuff. They can bring back old IP because the money is funneling right to for those other projects. Just like Sony claimed that COD, funds everything else. Well, that's going to be the same scenario.
Absolutely. And why? First of all, why? If you want to see, like, for instance, Phil Spencer consistently says, we want to treat this like Minecraft. That's his go-to comment. He's not wrong. If you look at what is in the top 10 every month for every console, it's Minecraft. Yeah. PlayStation, Nintendo, PC, it's Minecraft. Minecraft has Minecraft Legends. That's the one that's coming out, Minecraft Legends, right?
I think it's Legends. I keep getting the last one and the new one mixed up. The names for some reason. I always mix them up.
Yeah, the one that was before it, the one that's kind of like Gauntlet, that's kind of like
it was Dungeons and then Legends, right?
Dungeons. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, there you go. I loved it. I put about maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 hours into that game. I haven't played any of the expansions. I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Minecraft is like, I'm not a Minecraft guy. It's just
I'm
not
not
my
either.
it's
But I
just
might
not my
play the new
bag.
one.
Yeah,
Yep.
that one I might give it the old college effort.
Mm-hmm.
But please continue with your point, brother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to talk about Minecraft, I mean, to really see Microsoft's strategy too, you saw what they did worked with Minecraft.
Yep.
They started with 20 to 30 million active users, and now it's like 120. It's 120 million. Like, so they're trying to do the exact same thing with COD, and it's possible, like we've heard rumors that it's possible that other ABK titles could be coming to PlayStation and might be sharing more than just COD. I don't like it, right? I don't prefer it. Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't care because everything's going to be in Game Pass, but there is a part of me that's kind of like, F you. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we've been in
F
gaming
you. You
for
don't deserve it. You don't deserve
yeah,
it. Why do we have to share all of our candy, all of our toys, right?
Yeah.
And you get to not do the same thing. Just like, what the hell does Sony share with Nintendo?
Well, I think
Crickets, right?
I think ultimately, Retri, there are a couple of points here. There are some old dogs like us that have been a part of the industry for a very long time that understand that exclusivity moves people to one console or the other. We've seen Sony get away with what I consider murder within the industry, and again, it's just business. But again,
Yeah.
the reason why I have a problem with it isn't because I have all the consoles, so I'm never shut out of anything.
Right.
I have everything. I think the reason why I have such a problem with what's going on is because Sony did what you see in like TV and film. The guy that is the clearly the bad
Mm.
guy limps in with the eye patch and the head wrapped with the bandage, and
Oh,
he's got the one crutch, and he's limping in. This is what Sony is trying to do with regulators. And as anyone that follows, whether you're diehard like us, like Retri and I, or you're just casual and you like reading the headlines, to suggest that that is what Sony has been is a blatant lie. They have
mm.
lied to regulators. They have put on this dog and pony show, if you will, about how Call of Duty is irreplaceable and how Microsoft has been known to pull things away, and they keep bringing up Starfield. All of the Sony fans keep, well, Star was in development and it should be. And listen, folks, stop with the fake waterworks, okay? Because if Sony would have had it their effing way, Starfield would be exclusive on the PlayStation forever.
1,000%.
Okay?
1,000%.
That is a confirmed mother effing fact that they
Yep.
tried to lock up Starfield as a permanent exclusive. Go look up the stories.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? But it's only okay when Sony does it, and it's
Again,
not
it
okay when
goes
the big
back-
bad giant Microsoft does it.
It goes back, Retri, and we've said this before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. PlayStation good, Xbox
Yep.
bad. I'm sorry, that is the way it is in the media currently. No matter what good Microsoft does, we
Yeah.
find someone somewhere finds a way to take a dig. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Let me pull up because I sent this to you, and this is
Yeah. It's funny. You sent it to me, and you were like, "Oh, look at this! I just finished reading." Are you talking about the Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, I'm going to read the article because it's just the most pompous thing I've ever read, and it's desperation. It is journalism at its absolute worst. VG247 did a story this morning. Now, I won't click on it, folks. You want to click on it and you want to give them the clicks, you go right ahead. Currently, it has 44,000 views, probably because people are like, what the F are they talking about?
Mm-hmm.
This is the headline, folks, and I'm not making this up. I'm reading it directly from VG247's official Twitter account. With Baldur's Gate 3 heading to PlayStation 5, could it be a bigger deal than Starfield?
The desperation in the news cycle is unreal.
Face? Do you
Holy
see my
F.
face here?
Oh my god!
I
boom! Let's drop the gauntlet now. Who owns VG247. Who
Well,
is that?
thanks to the robot,
Hmm.
because I know he's a human being. Idle Sloth. He dropped something that I put into the DM. That was also, it was one of those conspiratory things that you see in, again, like in the films. So Idle Sloth 84 underscore is someone you need to follow. He is an amazing part of the community. The news that he puts out there, along with so many others, is just unprecedented. So
He's so fast. He actually beats Microsoft for their own stuff sometimes. I can see it. He beats them by like
again,
minutes. It's
this is why this
hilarious.
this is why this poor man has been accused of being a robot and not
He's
a
an
real
AI. I'm
person.
just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. He's an AI.
Listen, Idle Source, if you're an AI and Skynet happens, because it's going to happen, remember, Boom is your friend. Put me in a room somewhere and
That's right. Don't come
you know what I'm
after me.
saying? Don't come after
Yeah.
me. So he put out a graphic. Now, again, we're moving over from the Phil Spencer interview, so let me just write down the show notes because obviously people yell at me when I don't get it right. So I want to make sure I get it right. There have been a lot of hit pieces in the last couple of weeks. Like it's been incredibly consistent, and actually some of which have been quite shocking. Like, listen, if first of all, we have over 600 people here. That is a record for
Let's
this show.
go. Hit that like button,
And
guys. Please,
yeah,
please,
please
please.
hit the
I will
like
beg for
button.
likes. I got no shame.
No, it's I get yelled at constantly by Randall Thor. He's like, "Boom, you don't ask for for people to hit the sub button and and I'm like, yeah,
It's easy to forget that when you're doing your own show. I've done it too, Boom. So no
it
worries.
is.
Yep.
My wife and I are the only ones that run the channel. She does a lot of behind the scenes work that you guys will never know about because that's where she wants to be. If she ever wants to be on camera, trust me, she'll be on camera. We are 141 subs away from 12K. If you are finding the channel for the first time, I mean, honestly, just check. So a lot of people are like, Boom, I didn't know I wasn't subbed. For the love of Joe, I don't ask for anything. Honestly, we're grateful for the super chats, which we're going to get to in a minute. Actually, I'm going to do that first. And of course, the
Yeah, we got
channel
a bunch.
memberships, those really do help us buy new equipment. I have new lighting coming as well. I just purchased it a couple days
Nice.
ago. I have a new camera that I'm looking into that Everborn Saga uses. He looks like an angel, so I'm like, I gotta look like an angel, so I gotta get his camera. But what Retri is talking about, and I'm going to hand it off to you. We'll get to the super chats in a minute. GamesIndustry.biz, which of course is one of the lead writers there is Christopher Dring, who has been on an anti-Xbox tear. He has not only has he been speaking for himself, he apparently has been speaking for devs, talking about how subscription services, and I mean i.e. Xbox Game Pass, it forces developers and puts pressure on developers to be a part of the conversation. Otherwise, they're all going to fail. He has been one of the worst journalists in the last couple of weeks to show his true colors. Well, the hit pieces have been coming out left, right, and center. And this morning, Idle Sloth did this whole graph with arrows. It looks like something out of like a detective novel.
Yeah.
GamesIndustry.biz apparently owns VG247, VGC, Eurogamer, and Digital Foundry.
Push Square. Surprisingly pure
push Square.
Xbox.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah. They have been on a tear with negative pieces. Again, if Microsoft deserves the smoke, I'm going to give it to him. Retri is going to give it to him. Everyone that I work with on a weekly basis is going to give it to them. But what has been happening recently with journalism and the anti-Xbox movement, Retri, has honestly been on a bit of a head scratcher. When you look at what is going on with Xbox, they're about to launch across the world a deal that gives you Game Pass for $5 a month with 4 other people. I mean, think about that for a sec. And you're not sharing
Yep.
the subscription. I'm not like, hey, Retri, don't
Right. Get it
download
right.
Wulong
Mom,
because I
mom, get off the phone. I'm on I'm on the internet. It's none of that. Yeah. Exactly. You know what I'm talking about.
I
Right.
remember that back in the days.
Right.
That's why I'm
You're
laughing. But
you're old if your internet used to go squee. If you
yeah,
ever heard that sound, you know.
like
But right,
for
you're right. You
instance,
don't have to share
you'd
it.
be playing like remember when the Super Nintendo was able you ever play online and you're
Yeah.
playing and your mother would pick up the phone to call the next door neighbor, be like, "Mom, I'm on the phone. What are you doing? I'm on the internet. What are you doing?" That's what we're talking
Exactly.
about. But let's get into your opinion. But actually, before we do, let me just please catch up with the super chats because there's been, I mean, a lot of them.
Yeah. Once you go,
12 of them.
I'll be right back. Boom. I got my dog's losing her mind right
Yeah,
now,
go, go,
so
go do your thing.
I'll
I'll
just
read the
step away
super
for a second.
chats.
You got a lot of chats, so I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
let me. First of all, I want to say thank you in advance for all the super chats. Honestly, you don't realize how important they are to the lifeline of the channel. We spend a lot of money on equipment and programs that allow us to do this each and every day, 5 days a week. But we also give a lot back. And that's something that my wife and I really wanted to do. We wanted to be able to give. And sometimes we pull out of our accounts, because that's just the way it works sometimes. But we are funded by you. And the super chats that have come in have just been bonkers. So let me read them as Retri takes care of his dogs. First of all, the first one of the day comes the way of Buck. He drops a $10 super chat and says, "Appreciate your passion, Boom, and inviting panel members that offer informative discussion." That's very kind of you, brother. The generosity is amazing. Thank you for that. But it's the kind words that are worth their weight in gold. I really appreciate them, and I'm glad that you find that the people I bring in are not hate mongers. We don't do hate on this. We don't do. Everyone is welcome here. I say this all the time, and I really want to drive the point home. Race, creed, color, sexual orientation, console, none of that matters, folks. We're all human beings. You all matter to me. You all matter to Mrs. Boom. And everyone that wants to be a part of this conversation on this channel is welcome to come in, even if it's an opinion that is different than ours. We welcome all opinions. Jacob Novick drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "I'm super ecstatic. I don't know if it's my autism or ADHD or ticks stepping forward, but I don't care. Summer couldn't come any faster." Yeah, dude, summer's bright. It's beautiful. I here in New York, or at least in New Rochelle where I am, it's humid, man. I hate the humidity. I don't mind a nice sunny day with a cool breeze. But that's
You
unfortunately not
lucky
what you
you
get.
lucky you don't live where I live then, Boom. You'd hate it.
Yeah, I'm not a
South
humidity kind of
Carolina,
guy. Yeah. Oh
it's
God, it
humid.
gets humid. Yeah, it does. It absolutely
Yeah.
does. Andy Angrand drops, wow, a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Do you think Sony kept delaying documents to covertly tweak them?"
I do.
And yeah, I mean, some people
Yep.
have
I sure
suggested
do.
that, and I think that they might be able to get away with something like that, but at the same time, um, what could happen to Sony if they did that? I don't think that a third party would change their documents because Sony asked them to do it. Because if the government got involved and pulled their side of the documents from
Right.
their systems, they would everyone would be in big trouble. We all know Sony is lying about being, limping in the court with the eye patch and the head wrapped. But if they actually did illegal stuff like that, they would be in big trouble. I know that we laughed about this before. It's funny you should mention that, Andy. That the judge was got pretty annoyed when Sony said, "Listen, half the documents are in Japanese and we can't have them converted to English. It would be too much." And the judge was like, "Are you kidding me?" So yeah, Sony
That's a good one.
look, I'll put it to this way. Last night, people asked the question, "Is Sony hiding anything?" The answer is 1,000%.
Of
They're hiding
course.
things. This would have been the fifth postponement. I told you guys in my own personal uh, um, law career, because remember, I'm ex police officer. I had a situation very similar to that where they kept it was a rob case, a rob with a gun, and we recovered everything. Just cut and dry. And what wound up happening is there was 3 people that did the robbery, and each one had their own attorney. And every time that we got to court, they were asking for a delay, and then and they would do a round robin to try and get the case thrown out. And on the 4th time, the judge basically said, when I was up on the stand getting ready to to testify, they asked for a delay, and the judge told them, if you ask for an additional delay, I'm going to hold all 3 of you in contempt of court. And then we went to trial, and of course the bad guys went to jail because they were guilty. And that's a fact. That and the judge only has so much patience for Sony's nonsense, and they are hiding something. That's a fact. We also have Jacob Nova drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "I'd like to bring up a thing about a thing that Andy B. Drumming brought up in the chat. Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield and Xbox Game Pass at the same time. It is amazing. That
That's a good
would
point.
be.
That's a good point.
I did. You know what? I never really equated that, but that is a trifecta of monumental proportion. That's Andy B. Drumming constantly dropping hot knowledge. Andy, thanks so much for that. And of course,
Battlefield's in a good place. In case you guys haven't played it recently,
I haven't played it.
It's really good.
I want to play it, but again, Halo is dropping, and that new Halo looks
season
3.
That new season looks hot, dude. I'm so ready for
right
that.
now.
That's another problem, right?
Hogwarts is going to bed.
Because we got 5 days. Boom. We got to finish these games in 5 days.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But Tom from Tanami drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, after all this news, Phil is definitely just sitting in his office like Ivan, and I don't know how to pronounce that name. Drago, thinking if Sony dies, he dies.
That's a good one. I like that.
Oh my God, not pulling a Rocky on us. That's awesome, brother. Thanks so much for that. Dreadful Sean, who's been a channel member for a month. Thank you so much for that, Sean. He drops a $5 super chat and says, only thing wrong with Hi-Fi for me was level select doesn't show what items you were. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, because you do want, I mean, if you're a completionist, you really do want to get everything. Yeah, I mean, again, maybe they can fix that with a patch. I don't know. That's a good point, brother. We Robo 2024, who's been a channel member for 2 months. Thanks for that. He says, member for 4 months. He says, keep up the great work, Boom. Halo Season 3. Yes, next Tuesday, bring it on. I'm all in. I love Halo Infinite. I don't give it what anyone says. I am.
Me too.
One of my favorite Halos, folks. I'm sorry. I got almost, 13 days in Halo Infinite. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm going to probably add another 3 days worth of play. Eternal Shaddai drops a very generous. He actually has been a channel member for 10 months. He says Microsoft has different divisions, different budget. Do you think this ATVI merger will be used as cash support for other Microsoft studios' needs, cash generator? I mean, you would imagine so. I mean, Sony just admitted that most of their first-party games are funded via the monies that they make of Call of Duty. So it's definitely.
I think it will. I think.
Well, I mean,
it'll certainly help.
Well, I mean, it's going to help certainly buy additional studios. I will tell you that. Tom from Toonami drops an additional $5 super chat and says Sony literally acting like that fish from SpongeBob, walking into the courtroom like every morning I break my arms and every night I break my legs. I love it. That's good stuff. That's so scandalous. Jason Redmond, wow, dude, he drops a $20 super chat and he says video game controller dances goofily under the word woot. You know what? I maybe that flew over my head.
I don't know what I'm old. I don't have no clue what
you know what it is. I'm old. Yeah, means. We're old. Maybe that's what Jason. I don't understand.
You gotta have to.
You may have to break it down for these old men. But Jason, thank you for the generosity.
Say it
Thanks
slowly.
So much for being here. Drawn TJ drops a very generous $5 super chat and says they need to get Certain Infinity and Crytek and IO Interactive and Avalanche Studios and Remedy. What's going to happen is once this deal is passed, once they've had that sit-down meeting, you're going to start seeing that the studios that they're currently working with are going to just join. Like a Sobo would be a great addition.
I want a Sobo so bad.
Yeah,
so
I
bad
think
now.
that Sobo's
I didn't care about a Sobo until I played their Plague's Tale, the second one, and now I was Hooked.
Yeah, there you go.
We need that studio.
We absolutely do. Highlander 001, who's been a channel member for 6 months. Thanks so much for that, brother. He drops a $5 super chat and says, "What I cannot wait to see is Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon as Xbox exclusives. The sort will be epic. You missed my second super chat last night. Dude, I'm so sorry about that, brother. I'll try and go and find it, and I will read it live on the air. Last night was just." It was crazy. It was hard to keep the show together with that
chat
many
was
people.
Flying.
And I was trying to, again, it's my thing, like I try to say hello to everybody. It's just, I like doing that. I like welcoming you in. And sometimes super chats just get lost. I apologize for that. On the bright side, drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Preach!" exclamation point. I read the VG article and laughing my effing A off. The media bias is why Starfield will shadow drop within a week of the showcase. Engagement is what matters, not selling special edition consoles. Now, I agree on that. I think that the game is so big and so many people know about it. I mean, it's number one on Steam right now. Literally right now. True. It's going to be crazy. Hey, Kay Asante drops a comment in here, who's been a channel member for 10 months. He says, "Boom, you ready for the victory lap? I hear Everborn Saga is dusting off his gold pimp suit and floppy." Yeah, you saw that. I put what do you call it? Kay Asante put a pimp walking into all dressed in gold. And of course I said, no, that's going to be me and Everborn Saga walking in. And Pragmatic Eagle, wow, man, he's been a channel member for over 41 months. Holy crap, dude. Thank you so much for that. He says, so basically, PlayStation is surviving from third party, not first party. Who's been saying that forever? This guy. Indeed, you have been saying that. Listen, let's get into this, Retri. And I actually lost my chain of thought because we went to so many places.
Baldur's Gate article.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what we're talking about. It's a silly article. I sometimes I wonder about the press. Sometimes I wonder about what I listen, guys, gals. I get it. I want you to click on my channel and watch a video, but I'm not going to sell my soul, bro. I'm not doing that. I said this the other day. If I was told that I had to do what some of the other people did to succeed, I swear to God, I'll quit the effing business tomorrow. I'll pack all this shit up and go home because this is what you get. I'm doing grassroots. I'm doing it the right way. And if it takes a long time to hit 12K, 15K, 25K, then I'm just going to do it that way. That's fine. Not selling anything, but the truth. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know you and I were laughing hysterical over this. It's just silly.
A lot of people just read the headlines. You gotta read the article, and then you know why this article is complete and utter BS. Well, to start off, it's comparing Baldur's Gate 3, which I think looks really good. I'm not taking anything away from Baldur's Gate. It actually definitely piqued my interest. But then you're comparing it to the juggernaut that is Starfield, I think is kind of ridiculous. And they're using that as a headline and then almost not talking about Starfield almost at all in the entire article after that. So it's kind of more of a fact to me that this is clickbait, because then they just go on and compare Baldur's Gate against The Witcher 3. And they almost talk about Witcher 3 the entire dang freaking article. And only mention Starfield and the negative connotation that, well, it's not on PlayStation, so it's probably going to suffer because of that. Well, obviously, if it was on PlayStation, it would sell more. But this is clickbait at its finest. I mean, if you actually read this article, it's barely talking about Starfield at all, which you think it would be, since it's called, with Baldur's Gate 3's, leading to PS5, could it be bigger than Starfield? So why the heck aren't you doing an A/B comparison throughout the whole article on Starfield? Because it's clickbait. That's why. It's more of the same from ReedPop, Game Industry Biz, aka Gamers Network Limited, that owns all of these guys. It's just more of the same, and I don't think this is going away. I think Everborn was one to say this on your podcast, I think last week, that said just wait till the ABK deal is complete. A lot of people think that Xbox is going to get its due in these publications, and that things will change when they have good games come out, and that they won't do these hit pieces. They already won Publisher of the Year. It made no difference, none whatsoever. And I agree with Everborn. It's going to get significantly worse. There's going to be all kinds of hit pieces when ABK comes through. I completely agree with that sentiment.
It's unfortunate that that's what we should expect, but that's what you're going to have. And this is why I say, folks, find your favorite content creator, even if it's not me. It's Colt Eastwood, it's Randall Thor, Jez Corden, Dealer Gaming, massive monster presence in there's so many other smaller Mav and Pong and Steel Rain and Retri and Web Dave and the Iron Lords. Find your favorite content creator, because we all are going to be taking a victory lap. We have all been on the, and this comes the way of Cognito. I consider to be a brother. He is his family. We all got on the ground floor of positivity, and we have built our channels up from it, even though it's slower, because hate sells, obviously. If it bleeds, people reads. That's the thing with
it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is. I don't subscribe to that, folks. I'd rather be. Listen, I say this all the time. This is something that my father taught us when we were kids. Besides being, nice and treating others how you want to be treated, I would, and I swear to this, I would rather lose to be the good guy than win to be the bad one. Sorry if you don't agree with that. I hear you, but that's. I'd rather be a good guy and lose. That's just me. Sorry. And obviously, I'm not going to get on this hate train to build a channel. These hate sites, these hate content creators, they're like shooting stars. They're really bright for a hot second, and they fade out. Good on you. Good on you. You got 50,000 subs for being an a-hole. Okay. But listen, I want to continue the conversation, because this is the breaking news, folks. Obviously, ABK, a lot of people are tired of talking about it. Quite frankly, I'm not. Because I've been in gaming for as long as I have, and I've been gaming since 78. Yes, I'm an old bastard. I get it. I find this deal unbelievably intriguing. Not because I'm an expert, because of the size, the ramifications, the fact that as long as Microsoft has been a company, this is the biggest deal they've ever done. Think about that for a second. Microsoft has been decades of a company, and today this ABK deal that we're all watching with bated breath, if you will, to whether or not it gets approved or not, it's the biggest deal they've ever done. As an Xbox gamer, you have to applaud this deal, because what this does for you and what it does for me and for Retri and Game Pass _daily is our subscription services become invaluable. Okay? Your $15 a month goes from, well, it's shovelware, because this is what the press reported on for years, since 2017, since inception, to fact that now you're going to have games from Ubisoft with Ubisoft Plus, EA, Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, Xbox Game Studios for your $15 a month. It's madness if you're not a part of the service. But what jumped off the page this morning, Retri, and one of he follows me, I follow him. I would love to sit down and talk with this dude. It's Extras on Twitter. It's at Extras 1S TV. He has his own podcast. His YouTube channel has exploded on the scene. He's a Spanish YouTuber. He's absolutely amazing. Him, like obviously Tom Warren and Idle Sloth and so many others, have confirmed that Bloomberg is reporting and has confirmed through sources close to the ABK deal that the European Commission, the EU, is not going to demand structural remedies from Microsoft regarding Activision Blizzard King. This is something that is massive. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't think that the CMA is talking with the EU, you're dumb. Sorry,
Yeah,
there's no other way to put it. They are all talking.
they're all
What
talking.
what
100%.
what is going to ultimately happen here is this basically, and again, it could go completely left or completely right and go off and fall off the world, and then the deal just collapses in on itself. But this news prompted shares for Microsoft and Activision to go up 3 points this morning. That is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is why when it was reported upon a couple of days ago, very recklessly, by Andy Robinson, who I really, really dig. Like I really like Andy from VGC. When he went out there and he half cocked that Microsoft, according to his pundits, were going to sell the business, sell off Xbox if the deal failed. That was one of the most reckless journalistic things I've seen done
Yeah.
in years. It cost Microsoft and specifically Activision potentially millions of dollars, because when he reported that, other people took him up on his word. Now, Andy's a good dude. The guy I've never seen him misstep, but there's a reason why he shut down his Twitter account. He locked it up because if you please don't attack people when they say something that you don't like. That's not the way we do it. We don't do it here. Bullying is unacceptable. I will block you. I will ban you from the channel if you act like that. I'm sorry. I don't care about your sub. I don't care about your click. If you're a D-bag and you look to bully people, you're out. I don't stand for it. We will not stand for that kind of behavior here. But what he did was reckless journalism 101. And I was very, very taken aback by that. This new information that the EU is not going to ask for structural remedies. Now, if you're not familiar with what that means, it was originally suggested by the CMA specifically that they would like Microsoft behavioral remedies are something you write into a contract. Structural remedies is what you saw happen with when Disney bought Fox. They had to sell off ESPN, had to sell off different pieces of the business for regulators to approve it. There was suggestion from the CMA that because of Call of Duty's, stature, if you will, in the industry, what it means, how big of an IP it is, they suggested if it made sense, Microsoft could sell off Call of Duty. That's not going to happen because how do you do that, Retri? What do you carve off three of the studios of
I
the
don't know how you
eight
could do
that work?
that.
It's literally an impossible
Logistical
task.
light nightmare.
You
Logistical
you couldn't
absolute
do it
nightmare.
because back in the days, Call of Duty was made by Infinity Ward. That's who made it. And then, of course, Treyarch became a part of the rotation. And then another studio became a part of the rotation. And it was three Call of Duties being made at the same time by three different studios. And then it got so big and it got so expensive that they had 8 studios, Toys for Bob,
Right.
this one, that one, the guy down the block. Everyone was working on Call of Duty. How could you do that? You couldn't. So this news is huge. It's big because the EU Commission is probably going to be the first one to levy their decision on allowing the deal to go through with concessions, followed by the CMA. And what this news does today, there are two things, there are two big pieces that could be another 3-hour podcast on its own. And don't forget, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a whole giant panel of people, including Infinite Umber, who's joining us tomorrow. And we're going to talk about all the minutiae parts of this deal that have been brought to light in the last 48 hours. 10 a.m. tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, Breakfast with Boom. Come by and check us out. Retri, what this news ultimately does, along with the news from yesterday that the judge has denied Sony an additional delay and has ordered them to produce all third-party contracts from 2019 forward. This puts pressure on Lena Khan to do exactly what they just did with Meta and do this. Step aside and allow the deal to go through because they don't got a mother effing leg to stand on. This is big ramifications. I'm interested to get your opinion on it. Please, by all means, go on a rant if you will.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, EU, for seeing the light. You know what I mean? Like, it's about time. I think in the beginning, things looked so dire because there just wasn't any research being done by these regulators. And now the information drop is hitting them, and they're realizing how how lopsided this argument really is and how big Sony is in this space. Because I just don't think the regulators understood what the heck they were talking about or what they were getting into. And now they're starting to. So we see that Brad Smith come out and say, we're drawing a line in the sand. Call of Duty is not going to be parsed out. We are not parsing out the studios. We are not parsing out the IP. We're taking this thing ABK as ABK, and we're not separating any pieces of that of the whole company, which is good, because for a second I thought that might have been a possibility. I'm like, man, how bad do they want King? Are they actually gonna maybe parse this out? Luckily, Brad put an end to that, and now we're seeing that it's just going to be behavioral remedies, which just means contract, possible licensing things. Maybe some more ABK games going in there might be part of this conversation, because that would be a behavioral remedy as well. But I don't like it, but I don't know how far that's going to go either. But this is huge. I mean, this is massive. I've always been afraid of the CMA. CMA, I've said on your podcast many times, is the one that makes me nervous. FTC is just a little. They're a joke.
They're a joke over there.
They're a joke. So I haven't been afraid of them for a very long time. The EU is. You can feel the tides are turning. Right. Everything's starting to shift towards Microsoft, where everyone is starting to go on their side. They just announced 40 new countries for PC Game Pass, and I don't think personally that happens unless they know something, right? That, at least that was kind of my conspiracy
the investment behind there is potentially millions and millions of dollars. So if you're not going to be able to say to these 40 new countries, see, that's the thing. And you said that the other day, and I don't think people gave you enough credit for it. It's
I don't think they knew where I was going with it. Maybe
no, no. Honestly, it's brilliant because. Okay, Halo. Yeah, Halo's a big IP. So is Forza. So is Gears, right? Those are big ones. But if you're going to sell a brand, which these 40 countries have never had Xbox before, that's the important factor here. If you mention Call of Duty,
right.
now you have gotten everyone's ear. So that is a brilliant point. Good on you for that.
I mean, and they also essentially doubled the amount of PC Game Pass countries, not subscribers. I don't want to say subscribers, because a lot of these countries do not have the populations that of the countries that already have PC Game Pass.
Sure.
But there's a lot of smaller countries, but it is starting to show that Xbox is now willing to go more worldwide, which has been a problem for Xbox forever. Literally forever.
Decades, if you will.
So a lot of people in other countries are like, great, this all sounds great, but we don't get this, we don't get that. We don't even get the game in our own language, right? So hopefully this is going to, stop gap and help with, it's a good PR piece. And I think Xbox brought this out. This is so strategic, in my opinion. You get the Nintendo, 150 million new players. You're welcome. We are spreading out Call of Duty further than it ever has been, just like Minecraft, than it ever has been in the past. Cloud's an issue. Cloud is no longer an issue because we are giving our games from Xbox PC onto NVIDIA. Now, there goes your arguments. This is what we said in the beginning, that they're going to be able to take every argument that they have and just chip away at it, one at one. And they did this, and all this came out right around the exact same time Brad was talking to the EU. He was talking to this EU and the CMA when he said everything that they said about Nintendo, NVIDIA, and all this stuff. And now you got the EU who's kind of doing this, like you said, boom. So I think momentum is on our side, and I feel much better about the CMA now, because if they try to really go against this, they're going to be the outliers. I think they're going to look
Yeah.
like idiots, right? So
Well, I mean,
now we know that they are deciding this one day, one after another, April 25th, April 26th, right? So
yes. Yeah.
we'll see. It's
Actually, also on the 28th, which is 3 days later, would be the Australia. And
Australia, right?
Australia is right after that, and China is expected to approve it as
China,
well.
yeah,
And
right.
that
SAMR is supposedly going to approve it as well.
yes, yeah,
And I think the only problem that they had was NetEase, most likely. NetEase was probably the thorn in the SAMR's side, saying there's no way NetEase wants this, right? So I'm sure they're against this as well. But the rumors are saying that China is going to go forward with this, which is great as well.
yeah. Everborn Saga has consistently said it's going to drop like dominoes. It is going to
Right.
start with one big one, and everyone is not going to fall in line. No one's falling in line, but they're going to just start to be like, yeah, we agree. And it's again, Microsoft, regardless of what you think of them, they're not the evil empire. They did some pretty heinous things back in the 80s, but leadership on things have changed over the decades. Under the leadership of Satya Nadella, it's a much different Microsoft. It's a much friendlier and more accepting, and instead of being exclusive, they're inclusive. That's like one of my favorite parts of the company, is how inclusive they are,
Mm-hmm.
where everyone matters. Everyone could be a part of the conversation, and I really
Go
do
take a
like
look
that.
at Microsoft's board. Sorry to interrupt you, Boom,
Yeah, it's
but
okay.
go take a look at Microsoft's board. It's not filled with a bunch of old white guys. Just and then compare that to the board of most other companies,
There
and
you
you'll
go.
see the difference.
Yeah,
Microsoft, as I've said a million times, they're not talking the talk, they're walking the walk. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
No,
So it's all not just fluff.
I mean, there's something to be said about the way they do business, and like I said, of course, past history, it's not on their side, but you have to look at.
No.
I'm all about what you've done lately, and what they've done lately is they're pro consumer, specifically with Xbox. It's it is a big thing,
Yeah.
and they continue to make Game Pass a beacon for the industry. They're changing minds. Listen, folks. I understand Sony doesn't do it, and I wish they would. I know that Nintendo doesn't do it. I wish they would, because I subscribe to all of those services. I literally in January just upped and paid my $120 to Sony because, well, I can't get deals like I can with Xbox, but it's fine because I think eventually they're going to have some big first party games. I'm waiting for the Last of Us remake to drop in there. Now, I don't think that's going to drop anytime soon because one of their last reports was sales for that game, which makes sense because the show
Mm-hmm.
is so freaking good, went up
Yeah.
263%. Not a surprise, folks. Not a surprise at all. But you know what? Before we get everyone out of here and before I read the rest of the super chats, we didn't get a chance to really get your opinion on this. Now there is a Twitter member, Florian Mueller. I hope I'm
Mm-hmm.
pronouncing the names correctly. He's at FOSS Patents. He has exploded on the scene in recent weeks. I'd even say recent months, because he, like Idle Sloth, like Tom Warren, like so many others that constantly are putting out this ABK information. He put out a tweet, and I want to give a shout out to Lon of Twitter as well, because this is where I came up with the idea that Sony might find themselves in a bit of a pickle. Lon on Twitter, it's at H underscore SENSA. He asked a question that I thought was, and we did touch on it, but I really want to get your opinion on what ramifications came about from yesterday's defeat for Sony regarding the FTC largely rejecting its motions to quash Microsoft's subpoena. They got shut down. And he asked a question to Florian. He says, considering the FTC will get a glimpse of the sort of contracts and tactics Sony uses, and will have an understanding to their impact on competition. Does this change the regulators' view of Sony as a market actor during future acquisitions? Now, what I really want you to touch on, Retri, is Sony has been, just like Microsoft, maybe not as big, but they did buy Bungie for $3.7 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
They did buy in the last 18 months, I think it was a total of 7 studios that included Bungie, and one that it was leaked out that they bought, that we don't know if they bought, but we're getting good information that they do own a new studio. It's a small studio, sure, but it's still an acquisition. Do you think ultimately that Sony has kind of put the spotlight on themselves over this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we said, you poke the bear, you're going to pay the price, and they poked the bear, and now they're paying the price. Or at least I think they might pay the future price too. I mean, that's what we were kind of alluding to earlier, is that what Sony did might not just screw Sony; it might could screw Microsoft, Take Two, a bunch of publishers
Well,
that
the
want
industry
to
at
acquire
whole,
other studios. The whole industry might be
Yeah.
affected because now the whole industry is under a massive microscope, because this is such a huge and hot talking point that you got websites that I don't even think existed 2 years ago that now exist just for the sole purpose to talk about ABK mergers and stuff like
Yes. Yep.
that. So yeah, I think it's a very good point that they're bringing up, and I do think it, at the end of the day, it should hurt Sony. I mean, if they start looking under the hood and see the stuff that they've been doing with these third parties and the practices that they're doing, I think it might hurt third party deals. It's possible that regulators, just kind of go crazy. I mean, some people have suggested that regulators will go no more third party deals, which I don't think will happen.
No,
but
I think that's too much of an extreme, in my opinion.
yeah, I think that's an extreme idea, but I mean, people, I guess you never know, right? But yeah, I think this is going to change. I think it's going to hurt a little bit of the acquisitions that might be coming up, or even acquisitions that I think Microsoft might have had in their purview. And it's even changed my mind. All right, after all this crap that's gone down, I have a huge list of acquisitions that I wanted Microsoft to make, because why not? I'm greedy, and what the hell do I care if they
like
buy
Infinite
everybody?
Umbra. He wants everything.
I'm absolutely like Umbra, gobble it all up. I don't care. Like, I'm the consumer. I'm gonna be able to play all these games into Game Pass. I win. What do I care if that? There's never going to be a monopoly in this industry. It's so hard. It's so hard to do that. The only person who's come close to that is PlayStation.
Yep.
So I think this is going to possibly hurt acquisitions. Like, what I wanted was studios from WB. Now, I don't know if WB is going to end up parsing out everything and start going on a selling spree, because they've been in such trouble lately. Where we can get
like NetherRealm Studios.
NetherRealm is exactly what comes to mind, right?
Yeah, mine too.
So stuff like that, I was hoping Microsoft might go after, but now, after all this last year and a half of what's gone on, I think you're probably spot on, Boom, in saying that it's going to be smaller studios, and studios they already have a relationship with, like your IOs and your Asobos and guys like that. I think that just also makes the most amount of sense, just to lock them down in case you get another Embracer situation where they come in, swoop, grab someone on the cheap, and you're just like, what the hell just happened? We don't want that to happen again. Because I know Microsoft, that deal probably I'm guessing probably would have been closer to $1 billion versus the $300 million that Embracer paid for all of the ridiculous IPs and studios that they got.
Like I said, I look, folks, say what you want about Nathan Drake, one of my favorite heroes or characters or IPs that Sony owns. Uncharted is an amazing. Again, the first one didn't hit for me. My favorite one still is 2. Second one is just phenomenal, top to bottom. Microsoft doesn't have an IP like that. They could have owned that IP in Tomb Raider, which would have been amazing. And they didn't. They couldn't, because they were hung up with the ABK deal. I agree with you. I think that all of those IPs would have never went to Embracer. It would have been $1 billion deal, and Microsoft would have had Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, along with all the other studios that were a part of it, including the 50 IP they missed out on. I
Yeah.
think ultimately, though, when you look at the big picture, the ABK deal is the more important deal because of
Oh, without a doubt.
the mobile aspect and the PC aspect of it. Um, but look, I'll say this in closing: what Sony has done to the industry with this scorched earth mentality of we want what we want and we don't care, we're the market leader, they have now brought a ginormous spotlight on the industry. I think all moves are going to have regulatory eyeballs on it. I think that they have burned, you said it, ton
Yeah.
a ton of bridges with people that they've worked with, and they've strong armed into working with because, of course, they're the market leader. And I think there are going to be big ramifications for SIE and PlayStation. I really think that there are going to be far reaching ramifications that we'll never know about. But if you think, like, even if the deal failed, if you think Activision would ever deal
Right.
with them again in any kind of exclusive matter, you are out of your mind bonkers. But listen, let me catch up on the super chats and then we'll get everyone out of here. The show went a little longer than it normally does, but that's because, well, there is so much more that we could have talked about, and we're going to
I
continue
know.
this conversation
Yep.
tomorrow on Breakfast with Boom. But let's see where we are here. Eternal Shaddai, good friend of the program, and has been a channel member for 6 months. Wow, he drops a $20 super chat and says, "Boom! In an Animal Crossing language, can you act out the CMA's discussion? How the CMA discussion will be to decide whether they accept or deny the acquisition? Drink water first, buddy. I don't want you to have a dry throat." I don't think I could. I don't think I could mimic that. But we were just playing Animal Crossing before we went live, my wife and I, because we play it every day. Um, that's funny, dude. That's funny. And thank you for the generosity. That's crazy generous. Thank you so much for that. Raiden Blade drops who's been a channel member for 21 months. Says, "Boom, I woke last night. I saw the breaking news. I'm up playing Halo, listening to you in the panel. Shout out to Hargeet's comment, which he killed it last night.
Hmm.
Love the show. Thank you for the support, brother, and thank you for the very kind words. Highlander 001 drops an additional $10 super chat and says, "What I find funny is the Sony ponies kept hyping Forspoken and they're attacking Starfield and Hi-Fi Rush. Square Enix closed the studio that made Forspoken because of how bad it did. Starfield Game of the Year. Yeah, they didn't close the studio as much as they. Well, I mean, we don't know, but
Kind
it,
of feels like they did in a
the
different way.
the studio that made Forspoken has now been sucked up by
Brought
Square
in,
Enix.
right?
They're no longer their own studio. That's bad. That is bad. And it's unfortunate, but listen, it is what it is. The game has a lot of problems outside of its graphics and its gameplay. There's a lot of things inside that really bothered a lot of people about the way it was done, especially in an era where stereotypic behavior is not acceptable. It's just not acceptable, and some of the stuff the character was made to look and do really left a bad taste, and this falls in line with some of the comments recently that Square Enix said. I don't know if it's a language translation thing or it's just them being not such a great company. Their explanation into why African Americans are not represented in Final Fantasy 16 is dumb. The fact that they're trying to suggest that it's historically accurate when there are people flying around on chocobos, I don't know if that makes any sense to me, but they get themselves in trouble a lot, and that's not good. Um, we also have, let's see, Gamer by Choice. What's going on, brother? Wow, he's been a channel member for 41 months. That's crazy. Thank you for that. He says, "I do not think Xbox will get equal media coverage until they win mind share right now it's beneficial to bash Xbox. Some of this is Xbox's fault, and that's absolutely
Yeah,
true.
it's
But
not wrong.
others is just a journalistic bias. Great show. Yeah, I mean, listen, they got themselves in trouble by not delivering. Sorry,
Yep.
they failed in some aspects, but they're doing better, and no one is celebrating that except for the small content creation community. And I think we are putting pressures on the IGNs and the GameSpots and the Kotakus to be better. Will they ever be better? I don't know, but they definitely have a distaste for us because we have a voice and we're saying exactly what you need to say as opposed to what they're saying for clicks. Jason Redmond, who as new channel member. Jason, thank you so much for that, brother. Super appreciate that. Highlander 001 drops an additional $5 super chat and says Disney had to sell Sky Sports in Europe because they own ESPN and 53 other TV stations. Yeah, see, there you go. So that's why they had to cut that off. Drawn TJ drops an additional very generous $5 super chat and says, I would love for Microsoft to get all of WB and Embracer Group. I think those would be too big, personally.
Yeah.
But
I
I,
wish.
I listen. Yeah, everybody wants Microsoft to get everybody. I think after this, you're going to see small studios. And last super chat of the day comes the way of Eternal Shaddai drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Why would Microsoft sell Call of Duty? That's like WB to sell the Batman." And that's exactly correct. That's ridiculous.
He's right. I just wish WB would sell Batman to that's wishful
Me too.
thinking.
Me too. I love it.
I want it. I want a superhero, like a really good one.
So do I, absolutely. But listen, Retri, we had almost 700 people here this afternoon.
Nice.
Thank you so much. If you are new, please consider subscribing. Help us get to that 12K. The goal for this year for Mrs. Boom and I is 15K. It is a lofty goal. I don't know if we even hit 13, but we're certainly going to give it the college effort, and you can help us get there, especially if you're not already subscribed. And before you get on out of here, hit the like button. Retri, let's sell your brand, brother. You got a lot going on at Game Pass _daily. You do constant daily videos. Not only are you doing YouTube shorts and shorts on Twitter, but your YouTube channel is doing lengthy conversations. You're also working with Web Dave once a week on a Sunday evening show. Sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can subscribe to your channel, check you and Web Dave out, and more importantly, follow you on social media.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Game Pass _daily. It's the only one that has the underscore, and Game Pass Daily on TikTok and YouTube for all your Game Pass news and rumors and speculation, because I like to speculate because it's fun. Why not? Let's have fun with this, right? And we have our new show. I'm co-hosting with Web Dave on Sundays on Gamers Council. That's the name of the podcast. And basically it's a show that involves the community directly. So if you guys in the chat start asking questions and talking about stuff, we will literally change the entire flow of the show and start talking about what you guys want to talk about, whether that's video games, movies, or whatever the heck. It's usually around video games. And we just had, we have Kay Asante coming up this week, actually, on this Sunday show. So he'll be joining us. So I'm excited to talk to Kay. And we just had Wondering Dutch this past week. So we're going to be having guests. We'll have Boom eventually, of course, when he has time, which he does not have a lot of time, but we'll squeeze him in there for sure. So yeah, follow me, guys. And I'd love to play with the community. You can also, if you want to play with us on Xbox, just hit me up at Retri, that is on Xbox and PC, and I'll add you to our Discord and add you to the community. We play all kinds of online games together, whether that is Halo, COD, Fortnite, whatever's online, Diablo, whatever you guys want to play, we are willing to play it. So join us.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, brother. I love what you guys are doing over there. And again, a shout out to Boss Mod Lethal Papa. He is, like I said, his tireless work in the community keeps these chats, which someone sees upwards of 1,000 people at times, especially when you're a dealer. He keeps the people at bay, especially the trolls. I don't mind you having a different opinion. I don't mind you being a fanboy of pick whatever system you want. There is a way to do it. There is a way to drive your point home without being a jerk. And he makes sure that everyone plays nice. And that's the way we want it. We want you to come here, hang out, put your feet up, grab a Dr. Pepper, or or in my case, a ginger ale, and just chill. Have a good conversation. Have fun talking about your favorite console, your favorite game. And listen, hopefully you enjoyed the show enough to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Big shout out to all of the super chats. Have been, a ridiculous amount. Thank you so much. Those do more than you know. And of course, folks, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you, Retri. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.